book. So so let's see what kind of conversation we can have.
Yeah. Okay. So did either you or Allie read Tactic 5?
Of course I did.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess maybe what were some of your guys' ahas out of it? I actually just finished reading the entire thing, so.
My aha was like the focus shouldn't be on lead generating, it's lead capturing.
Mm-hmm.
Like lead conversion. That's the word. Sorry. Thanks. But like we can generate all the leads we want all day long. If we don't convert them in, like, what is it? Capture, cultivate, and close. If we don't close that lead and make it like a warm or hot or whatever and seal the deal, all the effort in lead generating is pointless.
Yeah.
And then furthermore, like tracking it, I know 110% I don't track my lead conversion rate. And so I just am going to fail.
I don't know so much as an aha, but I like the comment that we're not in he talks about people going fishing. And he's saying, the equivalent is you're not going fishing. You're not looking for the fish. You're capturing the fish. And I don't know if it was so much of an aha. This is sales. This is what it's all about. This is, nothing that he's saying here I haven't heard before. It's said differently. And I think that's the important thing, that we need to remind ourselves we're salespeople and that we're doing business with people who know, like, and trust us. And that to me is the most important thing. And he says that in here. He talks about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that it was very it's similar to Allie's aha as well, is that like lead generation is great and all, but if you don't convert them and close and get an appointment set, then it's like, it's all for naught. And then, when you're complaining that you don't have leads or something because the person didn't offer first, to be like, oh, I would love to meet with you, then that makes it hard, to fill your pipeline, because it just doesn't exist because you're not doing follow-up. And also kind of like really focusing on like the scripts of it. I feel like even just as like a market center, we haven't put as much emphasis maybe as we should have, and that, like being able to casually kind of slip all of the like gathering their information into like conversation, and the importance of marketing, when you do an open house, or, if you have a landing page, that you make sure to capture that person's information. That way you can circle back to them later and be like, oh yeah, like, I saw that you were at like our open house, like, we're capturing this, we're gathering information just because we'd like feedback, but then also being able to ask them, yeah, thanks for coming. And then the scripts that he has on 96 and 97, just kind of like being able to casually assess, like their wants, their current situation, their motivation, timetable, and expectations, and just kind of like being able to put all of that into a conversation to help them feel more secure in talking with you. And the one NAR statistic that they had, I don't remember exactly here it was, page 88.
Most people only interview one agent. Is that the one?
Yep, that one. I thought that was really, really interesting, is that the fact that like, if you stay consistent with like that person that you sit and meet, they're probably not going to meet with another person. And so if you stick to the scripts and like, help them feel more secure with you, then I think that's like, it's a pretty big slam dunk just to get it then.
Nice.
And then also just from a not agent's perspective, I thought that it was pretty funny that it's quite hotly contested, what specifically constitutes a lead, if it's just talking to someone or like putting them into your sphere, or if you actually have a close appointment with them, because apparently no one can decide. But that was just kind of my takeaway. And then the 6 connection questions.
What are they?
Who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about this chapter is that this is one of the, I always say this is where the money's made, because, and I think Mike was also saying that, earlier, like just kind of that intentional, purposeful approach to lead generation and lead follow-up, right? Where you're like the fishing aspect of it. But like from a tactical perspective, you can look at your people in your database or people you've had conversations with, and you can say, can I answer the 6 connecting questions? And if I can't answer the 6 connecting questions, now I have a reason to go back to them for that conversation. If I can get those 6 connecting questions answered, then I know how to help them, right? If I know who's moving or who's impacted by the move, why are they moving? Where do they want to go? What would be the ideal timeline, right? What kind of transaction are they looking for? What do they want? And you can literally just go through all of the 6 connected questions, and that will lay the groundwork for a really successful relationship with the person and ultimately a successful transaction.
And I think that goes back to the whole conversation in sales. What's their pain point? What are you helping them with? Because if we don't build a bridge with them, then all we've done is started a nice conversation, and that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to build the bridge. We need to find out what they're looking for. I was in a conversation with some other folks the other day, and this one agent has a seller that property down in Florida. They're at 1.3 mil now, and seller thinks, oh, if I wait, I can get 1.6. And the agent's basically saying, what do I do? And there's no pain. There's no pain. I mean, seller's not in their mind is 1.6 mil. And I keep thinking to myself, cheapers, can't you be happy with 1.3? And the answer is no. They're not. They don't have pain yet. And the next thing is they haven't even started probably to look for the next house. So to me, that's not a lead. That's a nice conversation, but we haven't solved the problem. And the problem is they think it's 1.6. It's like, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that that also kind of like pulls back into page 100 and 101, kind of like at the bottom of page 100, it says, as a salesperson, you are attached to their decision. Your goal is to just help them make one. And kind of the decision continuum of like, like the hard no, the hard yes, and everything in between. And, just, yeah, encouraging them to make a decision. Because, as a salesperson, you don't get paid until something closes. And so, encouraging them to make a decision, I think, is a part of that really big decision, or focus that real estate agents need to focus on,
One thing that was like an early aha for me about that section was, I came from a background in sales where we were pretty aggressive. And so this chapter to me it gives you permission to like just be accepting of their answer. And like all you want to do is help them get to an answer and make sure that it's a genuine and honest answer. And if their answer is absolutely no, that they don't want to move or they're not a good fit for a real estate transaction, that's okay, because that allows you to stop treating them like they might be okay, like that they might want a real estate transaction, which is just really uncomfortable for both of you, right? Because then you're chasing them and they're hiding from you, and you're wasting time that you could be spending looking for somebody else who's an absolute yes. And that's like a really big takeaway from that section that you just described there, is like making sure that you have gotten a genuine answer between the absolute yes and the absolute no, and that you treat them accordingly, right? Because if they're a maybe, say, okay, well, if you're a maybe, like what would make it a yes and what would make it a no? And they'll tell you, they'll say, well, it would be a yes if I knew I could get a house in this school district. Okay, cool. So if we look for a house in that school district, would you move? Yes, great. So now we've taken it from a maybe, a very squishy maybe, to a conditional yes. And we know that the condition is X, right? And we can solve that and we have a deal. So that section is really powerful to me.
Yeah, I think this is like pretty much a direct, like from the book. It says on page 102 underneath responding, when you ask someone to meet, they will either just say yes or give you a reason why they can't. This is the moment to remember that selling isn't verbal warfare, so don't get flustered, feel threatened, or get indignant. And learn how to respond and let the conversation take its natural course. And then towards the bottom there, you're just going to ask and respond until they agree that meeting with you makes sense or it doesn't. And so I personally really appreciate that it takes a very, like it removes the emotion behind it. And so it really is like, like they either will or they won't. And, that's like, just depending on how well that you're able to script with them and converse, that you'll kind of get your answer or not. And that, like, getting upset that they say no isn't productive, because I know that as someone who doesn't like asking people for stuff, that it's like, I know that this is something that I would personally really struggle with, is like having those conversations. And it talks about towards the beginning of the section as well, just, like that, you don't have to be, or that you need to be very secure in your scripts, basically, because your productivity will be directly reflected with, how well that you're able to talk to people.
Right. And I think when it continues with, when you ask to meet you're starting a dialogue. You can anticipate and practice. Here are the possible responses. If you ask enough people to meet, you'll get no thanks, not now, not yet. We'll need to think about it. We have an agent. We know an agent. We're not sure what we want to do. We're just looking. We're investigating our options right now. We're not in a hurry. But they're pre-qualifying themselves. They're telling you whether, if you listen, and again, they talked about that earlier in the book too. Got two ears and one mouth.
Yeah.
But if you don't ask questions, if we don't prod, we don't have answers.
Yeah.
And the hard part, I think, for some of us is it's not personal. When I do our wine classes, the number one thing I tell people, I didn't make this wine. I'm when I'm talking to buyers or sellers, you know what? I'm not the right person for everybody. But I think I can do a good job for you if you're willing to work with me. And if they're not, that's fine. Let's move on.
Yeah, I think that's maybe another reason that there might be a lot of fear from agents, is that, like, because they do take like a no or some sort of like maybe as like personally, like instead of trying to work through it and be like, okay, well, like what would make me like the best fit for you. And that even like when you get those conditional maybes, like because it's not a hard yes, that like they might just like move on, and then all of a sudden you're losing prospects in your pipeline because you're not doing that follow-up. If they say maybe like not now but later, and then you just say, okay, well, I want it closing now, or I want to do business right now, and then just move on, then I forget where they mention it specifically in the book, but here on page 105. So it says, you can't know or predict when they will come to a decision, but if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. Because like, I mean, even in like the Facebook groups that I'm a part of for agents, people are like, oh, I can't believe like I sold this lady her house 5 years ago. And then turns out that she sold and bought a new house with a different agent. And then like comments will be like, well, have you, been maintaining your touches with her? And it was like, oh, well, like, I hit the big ones, like birthday, home anniversary,
Right.
Happy Mother's Day and stuff like that. But not being as intentional about, like, oh, like, how's your dog? Like,
Yeah.
or like, how are your kids? I know school's like getting out soon and stuff like that, that's how they end up missing it, is because they aren't being consistent with their touches within their pipeline. So I think that's another kind of importance of staying top of mind with stuff like that. And then even his little anecdote of Gary in the box, as kind of like more, I guess, old fashioned way of doing things. Because, you know, you can do these sort of touches and set up smart plans in Command. But if you're more of a like physical pen and paper person, that this is, I think, is a really great idea for how to make sure that you stay consistent with your outreach to clients.
So I just flipped over to 106 where it talks about lead cultivation. Attracting leads that wouldn't originally set an appointment is a vital part of your time block lead generation, which obviously goes into what Joe's going to talk about at 4 o'clock.
The timing couldn't be better.
Yeah.
I thought you said it. I thought we set you up with this one so you could spike it.
Speaking of time blocks, I have a walkthrough at the new property, which is why I'm making sure that I was running this. So I will see you guys later at 4.
All right. Have fun.
Look forward to the update on the new property.
Oh yeah, taking pictures and videos.
Yeah, I think at the bottom of 106 as well, it's that, like, you know, there is no additional script for, you know, staying in contact. I'm just continue to use your connecting and closing scripts. You know, because I'm sure that, you know, their response each time won't be exactly the same as, no, we're not ready.
Right.
Like, or like whatever. So then, like, you can just kind of go through the other scripts
Right.
that there were, and just kind of, oh, where was it?
So Allie, if you're still on, what works for you on these types of things?
Catch me up to speed. I'm listening, but what types of things are we talking about? Being told no?
No.
Or follow up?
No, follow up or staying, because you seem to stay in contact with people.
As much as anyone might or might not want to hear this, to be honest, my follow-up is time blocked. I have follow-up Friday, every Friday.
Good.
That's my time block. And, you know, like Gary Keller said in tactic 4, if you must erase, you must replace. And I knew that I was going to be unavailable today for my, you know, I do time blocking in the morning, and then I do my ALC care calls from 11 to 1 on Fridays, and I knew that I was going to be unavailable. And so I just sent out my touches last night, and that was my time block. I knew I had X amount of time. So that, I mean, that's how I follow up. Now, I could get way better with it and really take it to the next level. And when we talk about, you know, smart plans and drip campaigns and all of the really awesome tools that Command has to offer us, I don't take advantage of them. You know, I do more work than I need to. I work harder, not smarter. But it's also what my comfort level is. And then we know we don't grow if we're comfortable, so we have to get uncomfortable. Whatever, I know all the things, but the ultimate answer is time blocking. That's my
Right.
follow-up.
Okay.
It works for me.
Right. And I'm horrible at that. I don't have smart plans in place and things like that. And I know I should. I mean, you know, so I'm way behind you on all of that. And, but I also think that my question is also to other agents, how involved are they in that? Maybe that's where the numbers are coming.
Yeah.
I think that, like, that's really kind of the biggest part, is that even just like as like a market center in our trainings, like really focusing on lead generation, and that's great. But then maybe where people start to falter is that lead conversion. And so, like, at the very end of Tactic 5 on page 108, it says, it is where the possible business that comes from your lead generating activity can turn into probably business and ultimately into profitable business. If you commit to mastering the skills of lead conversion, you will lift yourself above the competition. You will be even more than a lead generator, you will be a lead converter. You won't just be fishing, you'll be catching. And so like, just, you know, like people might be really, really good at lead generation, but it's like, you know, you only get business and make money when you convert those leads. And so I think that that was kind of like my, I guess, overall big aha is that like lead generation is great, but you don't make money unless you convert them. And like, you know, that there is work that has to be put into that. And it's not like, oh, because I generated a lead, that means that I'm going to get business, which I feel like that they explained at the top of the tactic that, you know, some people might think that it's like, you know, it all happens all at once. And that's not the case.
I also loved, Mike, sorry, I wasn't able to talk at the moment, but I loved your aha, like, and like Alana just said, we're not fishing, we're catching. And I love the way they say it like that because it's so true. And someone else said it, you know, in the chapter, and it was like, you know, these leads cost money, whether it's your time because you put in the work to generate the lead, and so that's your time is money, or whether it's you're paying for leads. If you really think about it, you know, in that aspect, then it becomes, for me at least, it becomes so much more important to really cultivate and connect with that lead because it is money. You know, like I wouldn't just put money on a park bench and be like, okay, and walk away from it. I want to watch it and nurture it and change it into, you know, to produce, to make money back off of it. And so that was just like a put into perspective, like, yeah, all of these leads cost money. And if I'm not putting in the time to cultivate and build that relationship, I'm essentially just throwing money away.
But some part of this to me always comes back to that we have to look at it and say, is this potential or is this a waste of time? And that's the hard part. It's very hard to do that. You know I've chased too many things and gone, oh, you know, we'll get this figured out. And we don't. It's a waste. You know.
I think too, sometimes in this business, it's only, you know, some things you can look at and be like, oh yeah, no, that would be a waste of time. But other things, it's more of like a trial and error, you know,
Sure.
like, will this lead generation company produce what I wanted to produce? And how do you know? Well, you have to do it. And then what are your measurable, because right, I'm the same way, you know, those hard questions and hard numbers where it's very black and white and you can really tell if it's making you money or not. And I like to live in gray area. And I'm like, oh, well, it's making me some money. I got a lead or whatever. And just
Right.
not being measurable with it, but having that measurable data, having, you know, enough knowledge to say that if I'm not producing or if it isn't generating me this much by this drop dead date, then we have to cut bait and try something else.
Right. I agree with that 200%. Agree with that 200%.
Yeah.
Give me a call. I had sent you an email. I understand that there's got own conflicts between.
So
you
my other quick question is, how do we get other people to come join us on this book club? Are people afraid of reading?
I think the middle of the day can be a little tricky, depending on, right, people are just getting busy right now. I was in a showing, luckily, with an investor who doesn't care much about my opinion, so that's why I clicked you guys on. But, you know, maybe switching from Wednesday to Thursday, or from Thursday to Wednesday, because when I clicked on my calendar, it wasn't on there. Luckily, we're using the same Zoom link, which is amazing, so I just clicked on a different thing and it brought me in. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
You know. But
Yeah.
also, like I said yesterday, Mike, have the courage to share it with somebody you know. You know, if you loved it, share it with somebody you know, and have the courage to share it with someone you don't know. So, you know, when you're in our time blocking thing later, bring it up. Like, hey, y'all missed a great shift call.
Right. Right, because this
People
is,
hear from me
this,
all the time.
this is what we're going to be talking about for the next several months.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, good news, bad news. It's an is. You know,
Well, and it also speaks volumes a little bit too. I mean, the shift book said it, early on, whenever the last shift happened or whatever, 20% of agents left the business.
Right.
Who's going to get serious, who's going to look the shift in the face and move from E to P and get purposeful in their business and work around that shift and fight for their unfair share of the market. And who isn't? Who is going to sit back and think that their lazy tactics that have been working during this COVID world where you stick a sign in the yard and it sells easy peasy is going to keep working.
Yeah.
It kind of could be telling.
Yeah.
I feel like even like agents who have come in to the office and I'm like, oh yeah, like book club, we're covering shift, and they're like, oh yeah, and they're like, but what have you heard about the market? And I'm like, I don't think it really matters what I've heard about the market if you're not going to put in the work, or if you're not going to learn new insights. Then what I've seen from the market, which frankly is not a lot because I just do the commission checks and the hand monies, but
yeah, but you're in the right place to hear the horror stories or the war stories or the, yeah, we have, and I'm happy to tell another one. I have a person looking for a townhouse, showed her a little property, 179.9 in Shaler yesterday, and they've already got right now 3 offers, possibly a 4th or 5th, and has some
Mike,
guesses tomorrow.
was it on Bethany?
Yeah. Yes.
Mike, I'm listing today a 2-bedroom townhouse on Bethany.
What's the number?
47A. It's
Thank
going
you.
into the MLS today.
Thank you. I'm going to let
I
my
have
buyer
exclusive
know
sign
because
on it. I'm going to be listing it right in that range.
that's perfect because this is a situation of my buyer sold her house on Butler Street, has cash, has a June 21 drop dead date that she said, well, I'm going to try and see if I can extend it. It's kind of like, you're kicking the can down the road. Now, to her defense, I've shown her a couple of properties. We've been outbid every time. And for all I know, ours is the best. Ours is, we offered full cash offer. I'm telling her, no, don't go bonkers. Don't go, unless, don't go spending a whole bunch of money extra on this. I don't think we're that desperate yet. So, but I will go let her know because I sent her 2 other things further out. She doesn't want to be much further out than that, so that would be fabulous. I'll keep an eye out for it and let her know. And again, I'm back to, will this happen? Shoot. Who predicted the stock market to drop how many thousand points 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but that's fabulous. I'll keep an eye out for it and I'll let her know. And thank you for the update.
Yeah, I have half of it input already. I was just waiting on my picture. So as soon as I get to the office, I'm going to finish it up and it'll be live.
Super. I will keep an eye out for it. Thank you for the update. And good luck no matter what. It's a hot market. I think based on what I've been looking at, she loved the area because, as it's a very quiet little street. It's residential, the cemetery is at the end.
I sold the connecting one a couple years ago to my buyer.
Perfect.
She loves it there. It's such a great area.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I know where Sharp Hill Road is. I mean, I've been on that before. I just never turned off of the damn thing. So
yeah, it's cute and quaint. Perfect. Well, yeah, I'll let you know as soon as it's live. I'll send you a text, and then I'll see you this afternoon at 4.
See everybody at 4. Drive carefully.
Bye, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye, Lana.
Thank you, Alana. Appreciate you setting this up. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.